So when I'm visiting with customers that tell me, I've been using this product for a long time and it doesn't work like it used to, that tells me right away they have resistance issues and it's time to rotate to something different. And in the Starbar line, we have 4 classes of chemistry in our 4 scatter baits. So it's easy to say, okay, what have you been using? What class of chemistry is that? And then let's find something to get you off on the right foot with a new rotation plan.
Yes, and depending on that mode of action, how that chemical works on the insect, there's gonna be some that happens quicker than others. And a lot of times that you hit it right on the head, whether it's our product or a competitor's product, we can see that resistance happen in just a few generations. So especially if we're talking about a use pattern over several years, we definitely have a problem, but luckily with our 4 different chemistries, we have a product available that should be able to help them out.
In the Starbar line, we have 4 baits. Golden Malrin and Quick Strike are both a blue granule. They're both 8 ounces per 1,000 square feet. The Quick Strike is also wettable, but there again we have the Quick Strike bait spray, which is designed specifically to dilute in water and spray. And then we also have in our scatter baits Cyanorox and DuraStrike. Cyanorox being 3 to 6 ounces per 1,000 square feet. It's a little yellow type pellet. And then the DuraStrike is also the same style and color pellet, but it's 1.6 to 6.4 ounces per 1,000 square feet. I think those ones are kind of unique, and I always like to point that out when talking with customers that if you're running a good IPM program and you're pretty well controlled, but you need to maintain at that low rate, Cyanorox and especially DuraStrike can be very economical to use because there's so little being used.
The fun thing about resistance is we typically are going to have 2 different types with houseflies. The first one is it's a genetic resistance. Each generation, it's taking that insecticide just that much longer to kill that insect. And since this is targeting the adult flies, they're already reproductive. So there's a good chance by the time they consume that bait and die, that they've already pushed those genetics out into the environment. That next generation is already that much better at evading that insecticide. The second we see sometimes, especially in a color pattern or a use pattern, whether it's in a scatter bait form, whether we've applied it to the walls, any of those other uses that we have for our scatter baits, is kind of more of behavioral. For whatever reason, that fly population will realize, hey, if we go to that scatter bait station, we're probably gonna die. And so those that are more willing to feed in different areas, those are gonna be the ones to survive. So when we look at that genetic resistance, that's where coming in with 4 different products with 4 very specific modes of action help, because they're all affecting those insects in a different way.
I feel like the fact that Starbar has 4 different baits and we can provide a complete rotation program is a big advantage to the end user, because that means I'm going and seeing this guy and talking to him about what he's been doing, what he did last year, what he did the year before, what he's going to do this next year, versus, well, I've got to come into a situation where he's been working with someone else and now I've got to play catch up and figure out, okay, where do we pick up the ball and go from here?
Looking at it from a tech services role or even a manufacturing role, we know what's happening with those products. When I get a call and we're doing an IPM where we want to have a pretty heavy scatter bait program, I'm familiar with all those labels. So it's kind of like you said, I'm not having to play catch up and find somebody else's label and see what application rates they're more familiar with, what equipment they have. I'm already there because those are our products. We don't have to go reach somewhere else to solve a genetic resistance issue.